Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I hope you all had a very nice Easter celebration this year. It is Easter Monday today, so Easter is not over yet. So I decided to make a video about culture and customs, especially around Easter time in Germany. And when I said in the thumbnail then and now, I mean, of course, that what I will be talking about mostly is how Easter is usually celebrated in Germany. Of course, this year is a special case. This year is different. Easter is the highest festival of Christendom, where the resurrection of Jesus is celebrated. What I really like about Easter is that it is not commercialized and exploited by Disney and similar companies yet, as is Christmas, for example. Of course, every German kid knows the golden Easter bunnies of a certain chocolate manufacturer. But compared to Christmas, I must say that the degree to which it is commercialized and exploited by large corporations is still rather low comparatively. It is a festival where the whole family comes together normally, and it comes at the beginning of spring and at the end of the fasting period. So the gray and dark, wet, cold winter in Germany, together with the period of fasting that started at the end of the carnival season, makes it even more impressive every time. So I noticed also that it just feels good to see the trees becoming green again, the flowers are blossoming and the birds start chirping again. So especially in Europe, where the effect of the seasons is very strong, this rebirth of nature can be quite overwhelming, and actually it's a very pleasant, very nice feeling. So of course our pagan ancestors celebrated this time already. So of course the Easter bunny and the egg and all these things are of course fertility symbols from our pagan ancestry. Nevertheless, this symbolism of life and rebirth fits in perfectly with the Christian Easter message, obviously. So what you see in Germany, for example, and I'm sure in many other countries that I don't know so well also, you see a mixture of pagan and Christian symbols during this time of the year and in the Easter celebrations. One of these examples is the Easter fire. That is clearly a pagan custom, and it is safe to say, and we know that from documents actually, that the early church did not know about these customs, and they actually debated on how to deal with that. Now it has been incorporated, of course, for a long time already in the Christian rituals. So what we always do in my family normally, for example, is that we visit the Easter Vigil together. That means on Easter Sunday, very early in the morning, like at 5 a.m. when it's still dark, you go to church. And normally in a courtyard or in front of the church, there is an Easter fire burning. The priest then normally lights the Easter candle on this fire, and this flame is then passed on among the people who also have candles. The lights in the church are of course switched off, so this candlelight illuminates the church in the dark early morning. Then when you leave church again after Mass, of course, the sunrise has occurred already, and you see that it is already starting to get bright outside. And this is a very nice symbolism that the church understood very well, of course. So in some families or in some parishes, people actually style elaborate Easter candles by themselves. So you buy wax in a craft shop, and then you cut out patterns and make these really nice looking Easter candles. Some of them are almost too beautiful to actually light them and let them burn down. Now another very beautiful custom is the Easter well. That is, that the wells in the center of towns or villages are decorated with evergreen wreaths and with colored eggs. Many of these eggs are hand painted, and some of them are truly works of art in their own right. Of course, the egg is a fertility symbol again, and villages do really have a competition going on sometimes among each other. The question is always which village, what city square or what town has the most beautifully decorated well. I think the tradition that is best known around the world is the searching for the Easter egg, or the nest actually. So normally on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, little nests with some candy or some eggs are hidden by the parents, and little children can then search for their presents. What I personally like very much actually is the Easter bread. I don't know about other countries, but at least in Germany, that is what I would call an upgraded yeast dough bread or yeast bread. So in Germany, in the southwest especially, all around the year actually, you can buy, or many people bake it themselves. It's very easy. And it is a sweet bread called Hefezopf. Zopf in German means braid, and you see it's a single or double braided loaf that is made from a sweet yeast dough. So it has more yeast than you would use for a pizza pie, for example, and it has eggs and butter and sugar. Sometimes it has raisins and almonds. And this is actually what becomes then Easter bread. It is a Hefezopf with raisins and almonds on top of it. Especially around Easter here in Germany, you see a lot of sweet yeast dough baked goods. Not necessarily only Easter bread, also smaller things. Also, the Easter lamb is technically a cake, and it's not so much about the flavor. The flavor is not so special, but the shape is special here. It is shaped like the lamb, and that symbolizes, of course, the sacrifice that Christ made for the sake of our souls. The proverbial sacrificial lamb, that is. So these are now some of the cultural features of a German Easter celebration. And I have to say, these are exactly the things that I missed this year, because as you can imagine, this year Easter celebrations were banned in Germany. The German government strictly forbids these celebrations right now. So also families cannot even come together and visit each other. So why would people bake all that stuff just for themselves when they sit alone in their apartments? So that means most people this year don't celebrate Easter at all actually. Maybe they do it quietly for themselves, but it is not really the same thing. It is a festival that is meant to be celebrated with the family and in a larger community. So me personally, I actually am okay, as I said before. I lived by myself for pretty much a decade on and off. And also right now I am living all by myself. I am really okay with that normally, but especially around Easter time, I would prefer to be with my family. And I can only imagine how this time must feel for people who are not introverts like me or who struggle with the isolation as it is. And then on top of it, there is the fact that on such a high holiday, on such a traditional family festival, they cannot see their loved ones. So I think that makes it just much harder for them. So of course we all know who is to blame for that, but that is not really the topic of today's video. A big shout out to all my supporters and my subscribers. If you find this interesting, please like, share and subscribe, or consider making a donation via PayPal or supporting my work via Patreon or Subscribestar. So once again, happy Easter from my side, and let me know down in the comments below how Easter is celebrated in your country and what is different this year, what restrictions there are because of this Far Eastern health crisis. You can also let me know what little things you did to maybe go around these things or to improvise this year, because you can't celebrate how you normally would have celebrated it, or if you celebrated a little bit just for yourself, maybe you baked something or decorated something. So I have to admit, I didn't do anything. I cooked a nice dinner for myself, but that was it. Maybe I should have baked something, or I will actually maybe do it next week. I don't know. I hope you are all safe and sound physically and mentally, and that you also keep it that way. Servus, Kameraden.